Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 and other radio stations, and online viewers. I'm Relaika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 31st, 2018. At this time, I invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Stuart Johnson, to address you. Minister Johnson.
Honorable colleagues in the Council of Ministers, members of the media, people of St. Martin, good morning. Update on the hotels leading into what we expect to be a busy tourism season. We estimate that the hotel industry will have around 55% of its room inventory restored by January 2019. And if all goes well, we expect to have the number increase to approximately 66% by the end of the first quarter of next year. Sonesta Maho Beach Resort is set to reopen on February 1st, 2019. Already, Sonesta Ocean Point has commenced training of its staff in preparation of the Ocean Point opening, which is a 5-star resort. And all indications are that the resort will now open on December 15th with all 130 suites available. The game floor of the Casino Royale is now fully operational. As you know, the reopening of Casino Royale positively impacts our economy as we expect the Maho area to have increased commercial activities, which is a good sign for our visitors and residents alike. Most importantly, many of our residents who have not worked since Hurricane Irma devastated our island in 2017 can soon return to work. Additionally, the casinos contribute majority to the reduction of unemployment, which is a plus for our economy, and we therefore welcome the reopening of the casino. For these guests and residents who are patrons of the arts, the theater at the Casino Royale will resume shows in the week of Christmas time. All indications are the Maho Village will be fully operational for the upcoming season by mid-December. Updates on improving calibration. Since taking office, I've continued to reach out to various departments within the Ministry of TIAT to resolve many ways and many concerns that civil servants have had. That also impedes them to bring and be able to afford them the opportunity to perform their duties effectively, and whatever impedes them from doing such. One such matter relates to the issue of calibration of machines that are used to dispense products, weigh products, or measure temperature, for example. I am pleased to announce that a group of civil servants from within my ministry will be traveling to Sabre in December to participate in a 5-day calibration training, which will be conducted by 2 experts from the Ministry of Economic Affairs in the Netherlands. It is the responsibility of the Minister of TIAT to ensure consumer protection. This means that you will have what you pay for at any outlet, or whatever scale is used or device to measure it with, that they give you what you pay for and should be appropriated, calibrated, and routinely inspected to improve accuracy. This, of course, is regulated by a national ordinance called Metrological Calibration, which will form an integral part of the training and will be both practical and theoretical exercises. Other announcements from the Ministry of TIAT include the 50 season ticket giveaway for the upcoming Carnival season. Today, I would like to announce a special initiative by the Cabinet of TIAT and the St. Martin Tourist Bureau. As you know, we'll be celebrating next year 50 years of Carnival, and we want to ensure that everyone gets the opportunity to enjoy and be a part of the historical moment in our country's culture. Therefore, in honor of the achievement of our 50th Carnival celebration, on November 30th, I will be giving away 50 season passes to 50 lucky winners. We are kicking off the promotion for Carnival 50 in a big way on that day. In order to win one of the season passes, persons must be from within the community and can come to the government administration building and drop their names in a gold box that will be guarded 24/7. There will be a form to fill out, and once you fill out the instruction and the form completely, you drop it in the box, and on November 30th, we will have a big celebration, along which the St. Martin Carnival Development Foundation, in collaboration with the St. Martin Tourist Bureau, will feature several local artists and various carnival ambassadors. At that time, the 50 lucky winners of the 2019 Carnival season passes, worth $250 each, would be announced. This promotion is part of our awareness campaign aimed at getting more community participation and involvement in Carnival 50 and beyond. Drone use and concern and awareness, another priority of the Ministry of TIAT. I had a very healthy discussion with the Department of Civil Aviation, and one of the concerns that were raised, which has my attention, is the issue of regulating the use of drones in the interest of safety, security, and privacy. I know that many persons have become very fond of drones to take pictures at events, whether for commercial or recreational use. However, we have always, as a government, looked at how these and other advances in technologies can meet international standards and both regulations and proper safeguards be put in place. In the area of aviation, the concern is always how far will people go when it comes to trying to take a photograph, and what are the risks, and how now, where aircrafts are concerned, that there are also no risk involved. Therefore, while the Department of Civil Aviation will study the use of drones and proper legislation to manage their use, I will be signing a ministerial decree within short to restrict the use of drones in the Simpson Bay area. Persons wanting to use drones for commercial purposes would be required to contact the Department of Civil Aviation for the necessary permission. We cannot pretend that we do not see the potential danger and wait until the worst has happened. I believe that we must tackle this issue from the standpoint of protection. Our tourism industry depends heavily on airlift to the island, and we must protect the industry and our people. Civil aviation and maritime affairs will continue to play an important role in our economic redevelopment and sustainability. While we are on the topic of protection, I do also wish to point out, especially for the operators of cement pump trucks and cranes, that they have been and will be in the future carry out work around the airport's construction zone, also ensure that they're not in violation of the Federal Aviation Authority rules. Because your equipment carries and hoists several feet in the air, and to avoid mishaps, if you operate a construction vehicle, make sure that the airfield vehicle safety flags are used. There are two types of flags in particular. A checkered flag, which should be placed at the top of the large construction vehicles, including cranes and pump trucks, and a PVC orange-colored flag at the top of barriers. The importance of these flags is to ensure visibility. The Civil Aviation Authority will continue to inform the public about the necessary safety requirements and to avoid mishaps. Lastly, as we continue to rebuild St. Martin and its economy through revitalization and the remake of our tourism industry as one of the critical areas of importance for the return of cruise numbers to pre-Irma times and surpassing those numbers, I will be accompanied by members of Port St. Martin in the coming week, where I will be attending the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association Conference and Trade Show in Puerto Rico. I will be delivering the message that St. Martin's primary focus and areas of interest where the cruise industry is concerned, as well as continue to ensure that our destination proves in its revitalization efforts to stakeholders. I hope to be able to discuss and establish agreements with key industry partners on the extension of cruise hours for the cruise ships that call at our port. I also want to solidify our position with concerns home porting of vessels. I believe that with some effort, we can build a stable home porting base here on St. Martin. This will mean increased economic activity for the island, as we will be able to accommodate more visitors for more extended periods of time, and who will need to utilize our car rentals, hotels, restaurants, shops, and other facilities while they are here. Finally, the St. Martin Tourist Bureau is busy with several plans for rebuilding St. Martin to the world as the premier vacation destination. And one of those areas we are seriously looking at is, of course, our onshore and onboard marketing of the destination. I will therefore be working with my team to accomplish these objectives in the interest of building a sustainable tourism product. Members of the media, I look forward at this time to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Johnson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor, the Honorable Emma Lee, to address you. Minister Lee.
Good morning. Good morning, colleagues, media, those attending the press conference today, and those listening by radio, television, or internet. I have one topic I'd like to touch on, and this is related to the mosquito population on the island. I've received quite some comments lately about high levels of mosquitoes in the community. I think that's certainly corroborated by the experiences and the investigations by the ministry and the Department of CPS. However, in a sense, this is somewhat understandable. The reality is that, as we've talked about previously with mosquitoes, the most important measure in terms of controlling the mosquito population is managing the breeding sites for mosquitoes. In fact, after Hurricane Irma, there's still quite a bit of debris out there, and also the ministry's done quite some investigations in terms of going out into the community and researching, and we find, unfortunately, there's still quite a number of abandoned structures, abandoned houses. You'll find that there's places that are not being used, so they have swimming pools or cisterns that are not being properly maintained. The car wrecks in our community are also a source of breeding sites for mosquitoes, tires, drums, and just all the other debris that's still out there in the community. So in a sense, it is understandable that there are high levels of mosquitoes in our community. And again, I think this really illustrates how the message from the ministry for the past few years has been right on the mark, that the best thing to do to control the mosquito population is to control the breeding sites. That said, we have had discussions between the ministry, within the ministry about, how do we move forward? Because while we certainly need to do a cleanup campaign, that's a longer-term structural approach. So I've asked whether the ministry would execute a fogging program. So the ministry is currently looking at that. The idea is to commence by next week. We certainly will come out prior to executing that with a schedule in terms of which locations, which days, so that people can also make sure that they are aware and they can take precautions in their community. But I think it's important to stress that this is not an ideal solution. This is not an ideal approach for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're still in the rainy season. So that means that if we go out into the neighborhoods and we fog, and then it rains the next day, in a sense, that effort's going to be lost. Much of the insecticides will end up being washed away by that rain. And if we don't address the debris in the community, even if the spraying is effective, it will knock down the population for a period of time, a very short period of time, but the mosquitoes will breed again, the larvae will hatch, and we will have again a high level of mosquitoes in the population. So the real key is for the community to be engaged, and also for government, we're working on our debris management program. So within the World Bank program, as you know, as the PM especially knows, that there was 4 projects in the first tranche: the hospital project, the emergency income support project, the disaster preparedness project. Those 3 have already been approved, the grant agreement signed, and the last one is the debris management project. Within that is the plan on how we're controlling the suppression of the fires at the dump, and a more comprehensive research and strategy in terms of how we're managing the debris for the island. But in that as well is a program for a collaboration between the Ministry of VSA and VROMI to do a comprehensive clean sweep program in terms of how we can use, actually the idea is that we're using people who are unemployed or underemployed to go out into the community to help to clean up that debris, working together with a number of contractors to collect that and haul it, obviously, and hopefully sort it when it gets to the dump. In particular, from the Ministry of VSA's perspective, our component in that project, there's a technological component. So we have a digital mapping plan, so the Ministry of VSA will use technologies so that we can better monitor the mosquito population in the community. Actually, the hope is that from the ministry's perspective, we will also use this technology and build on it with a community mapping, a social mapping program. So we're very excited about the technological approach towards the solution. As I touched on already, the clean sweep program. So the idea is that the Ministry of VSA, the CPS, will have inspectors that will go out into a community. So for example, we'd identify a neighborhood, the inspectors will go into the community, identify what are the mosquito breeding sources, what are the areas that need to be cleaned up, identify it, target it, and then collaborate with VROMI, who will actually execute the cleanup portion of that, as well as a much more longer-term approach in terms of we're addressing the legislative and policy issues that are out there. As you see, there's still quite a number of car wrecks, for example, that are around the community, and part of that is not the is not the issue that government doesn't want to go and pick up the cars, but there are maybe some legislative and policy issues about what we can pick up and what the rules are regarding it, and so we're going to address that as well as an educational component to make sure that the community remains engaged and understands that they're part of the solution. They're part of the problem. If they don't address it, they're part of the solution in terms of how we move forward. So that community engagement is critical. And so just as a reminder from the Department of CPS, there are 3 Ds to mosquito prevention. Number 1, drain, meaning emptying out water. That can be bowls, your pet water bowls. That can be around your your flower pots. Sometimes they have saucers where you collect the water. Those are all perfect mosquito breeding sites, and of course, just your general debris in the area. I know when I've gone out with the inspectors, a lot of times you'll see people collect the rainwater, for example, from the roof, and they use it for gardening, but they should put a mosquito mesh over it to prevent mosquitoes from breeding inside. Dress appropriately, long sleeves, and also to defend. Make sure you use mosquito repellent, and this will all help to break the cycle of the mosquitoes because they need blood in order to breed, and they need water, clean water in order to breed. And so if we can reduce the access of either one of those, it makes the population smaller. For those who have information or they would like to stress the need for their particular neighborhood for the fogging that we're in process of scheduling, they can contact the Department of CPS. They can send an email to surveillance@stmartingov.org. They can also call CPS at 542-1122, as well as they can send a WhatsApp message. And actually, my preferred communication is WhatsApp. If you take a picture of what you see in the neighborhood in terms of things that need to be cleaned up, you can always WhatsApp it and send that out. And that WhatsApp number is 554-2107. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Lee, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Leona Romeo Marlin, to address you. Prime Minister.
Thank you. A pleasant good morning to all my colleagues, members of the press. Good morning, St. Martin. I would like to first convey my sincere apologies on behalf of the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports, Mr. Wycliffe Smith. The minister is currently at the airport to welcome back the 8 students who went to Trinidad to do the technical vocational studies. This is the reason he's not present at today's press briefing. On Friday evening past, the Council of Ministers took some time from our regular schedule and got together in an informal strategic retreat. The goal of the informal strategic retreat was to refocus as ministers responsible for the day-to-day running of this country and build unity. Team building and unity are essential components for any government to be successful in its goal of executing a governing program. This was a great opportunity to continue strengthening our ties, and it solidifies the saying that there is strength in unity. So I therefore thank the Council of Ministers for that great event. As I continue this morning, I would like to address the issue of hiring an adjuster to finalize the insurance claim for government properties insured after the passing of Hurricane Irma and Maria. I hereby confirm that indeed, government has engaged in the services of Smith Orloff and associates with the task of recouping a higher settlement than what the previous government accepted. Proper procedures have been followed, and the records will prove that. Just some food for thought. The current proposed settlement of $9 million US for an insured amount of government properties to the tune of $134 million. This is our taxpayers' monies, and in my humble opinion, is unacceptable. As a Council of Ministers, we have taken the decision to handle this situation the right way. Concerning civil servants in our administration that are leaking documents to the media, this is a clear breach of the oath that you took when you were sworn in as a civil servant. All civil servants that work around sensitive information have sworn to secrecy and thus will be held accountable for their actions if they have violated this principle. As it relates to the information that has been published, I must indicate that conveniently, the information package shared in the public domain has missing documents and thus distorts the facts. My objective this morning is not to prove anything to anyone in this setting, but simply clear the air on this matter and assure the viewing and listening public that this matter will be handled properly. As a Council of Ministers, we are obliged to act with integrity and in the best interests of the government of St. Martin to negotiate the best possible settlement claim that in turn will reduce the burden on our annual budget and allow us to look at additional projects in the interests of our people, or the people of St. Martin, to be more clearer. On the topic of ICT and security, I would like to remind the general public, locally and internationally, that there are many social media accounts, specifically on Facebook and Instagram, that are misusing my image to solicit funds and/or goods by request. Please be advised that these are fake accounts, and as Prime Minister, I will never use social media to engage in an official business or make official requests for funding of any kind. If you should encounter any of these fraudulent requests, please report them to the police immediately. Your cooperation in this matter will be greatly appreciated, and I want to publicly thank all of those persons on social media and in the community who have inquired with my person before taking any further steps. I encourage you to continue to be vigilant and to report such matters as well to the social media security administrators. My social media presence is strictly limited to communication and promotion of the policies and projects that fall under my authority. I thank you, and I await the questions from the media. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing. We now move on to the question and answer session. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and to the ministers. This is a new day. Today, my question to Minister Lee. It has been surfacing that there are level of poverty in St. Martin. Do you have any document to prove that allegation? And not prove it?
Look, certainly we recognize that prior to Irma, there was already a certain level of poverty in our community. And fact is, with the economic impact, in other words, that the hospitality industry has been very badly damaged and that many people have lost their jobs. And although I'm very proud of the hospitality, the skills training program, the income support program, we certainly recognize that although they're getting a stipend and although they're getting their health insurance, it certainly doesn't replace the income that they were making when they were working full-time in their jobs, and that's created a financial hardship, and that's increased the number of people that have moved into a poverty situation. So I think that's very, very clear that post-Irma, the number of individuals that have moved into a poverty situation has increased. The challenge, of course, becomes, with limited funds, what can we do to address that? I think the first and most important thing, and that certainly is what has the attention of the Council of Ministers, is how do we get the economy moving again? So getting the airport up and running, getting the hotel properties rebuilt, so that we can start moving people back above the poverty line. Thank you very much.
And just to add on, Relika, thank you. Just to add on to what Minister Lee said, and we're working in unison with each ministry to ensure that there is not only cohesion, but there is also that joint effort in realizing that the interministerial works that we have as a COM is very important. One, of course, like Minister Lee mentioned, the reopening of hotels, getting businesses open again, that is of paramount importance to the Ministry of TIAT, and we continue to commit to do that. So as statistics have shown already, a number of businesses have opened even higher percentages than pre-Irma numbers in 2017 and before that. So things are looking good. But in general, the public of St. Martin should be very aware of the fact that collectively, all of us form part of that responsibility. Even the simplest things as issues with taxi drivers and how we treat our guests in the restaurants, how we treat patrons coming to the restaurant, in stores, how we welcome them into the stores. Everyone plays a role in rebuilding this country, rebuilding this economy. Government alone cannot do it, so I'm calling on the people of St. Martin to work with government as we make it a continuous priority to get hotels back open, to get businesses back on track, to get the airport open, to continue to push our harbor and make sure that there's extensions, for instance, in Pier 2, that there's more cruise ships coming to our island. These are some of the key issues that government can do, but on a day-to-day basis, we, the people of St. Martin, hold a responsibility, and that is to take the positivity out of every situation and move this country forward together in making this country truly great as we know it to be.
Thank you, Minister Johnson. Minister Lee?
If I could add something on a completely different topic, just because Minister Smith is not here, on behalf of government, I would like to extend a congratulations to the St. Martin Taekwondo team that just returned from Orlando. Actually, it just so happened that I was on the flight with them yesterday when they were returning to St. Martin. They were all in their uniforms and had their gold medals and obviously very proud. Even the captain of the airplane congratulated the entire team. So they walked away with 10 gold medals. This is the team from the King Yen Taekwondo School. I congratulated Grandmaster Liu on their accomplishments. And as he pointed out in our conversation, you know, this was also a nice promotion for St. Martin. Every time they go and they compete, it's great exposure for the country as well. So congratulations to the team and congratulations to the school for a great job.
Thank you, Minister Lee. Alita Singh of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Rolika. Good morning, Prime Minister, Minister Lee, and Minister Johnson. My question is for the Prime Minister and has to do with the insurance. You mentioned in your statement that government would like to get a better settlement than was agreed upon by the previous government. If there's already an agreement, how can you renegotiate that? One, and following to that, how much has government collected already on its insurance policies?
Thank you, Alita, for that question. I stand corrected. There was no agreement. There was no agreement. Let me correct that one. Where do we stand? I believe the last I checked, in the council, we had received $5 million thus far. And perhaps I will check again. So by the next press briefing, we will have an update as to if more monies have come in. But indeed, the intention is to look at that agreement again and have a certified public adjuster address such. So one with the proper qualifications to do such, to make sure that we get the value of exactly the damages. In total, our properties are valued at $134 million in its totality. And what has been discussed in the past, and this is what we're going to be readdressing and looking at, is only $9 million. So this is what I think is unacceptable, and therefore we have chosen as the Council of Ministers to have someone qualified, a qualified public adjuster, and hear me correctly, a qualified public adjuster to reassess exactly what that $9 million contains and to see about us fighting for more of the people's money, because at the end of the day, it's the monies of the people.
I just have a quick clarification, because Prime Minister, again, you use the word agreement. You mean proposal. Am I
Correct.
okay.
Proposal. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We now move on to the second round of questions. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Question to the Prime Minister again. Well, the first question. Prime Minister, you mentioned in some recently that from the $550 million, we're gonna distribution will be in trenches. I asked you recently if there are any areas which is visible that you can proudly say that things are working.
Okay, I'm not sure what the question is, just for correction. It's 550 million euros or $580 million, of which 470 belongs to the trust fund and the others was given, the other was for direct funding. If I may answer in this way, the visibility. You heard the Minister of VSS speak about he speaks about the hospital. 25 million was given to the hospital, so you're going to see the visibility. I believe they have started, and that is quite visible. There's an ongoing program where they are the debris cleanup. That's part of it as well. There's a visibility at NEPA where training is being given there through the hospitality training program. So indeed, there are visibility of the funds. There will be more visibility within short, but again, patience, patience.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Alita Singh, you have the floor.
Thanks again, Rolika. My next question is for Minister Johnson. You announced this morning that you will be giving away the Carnival passes tickets. How do you intend to pay for that, and how will you determine the winners of those 50 passes?
Thank you, Alita, for your question. And of course, let me go straight into the reason for this promotion. One, the 50th Carnival celebration is deeply rooted in the governing program. So it's not that Johnson loves Carnival only, it's deeply rooted in the priorities of the government. So let's start with that, because I just wanted to, some people jump on social media and they get so creative, but anyway, let's get into the question. So first off, it's going to be random, so winners are going to be selected. There's going to be a golden box located at the government administration building where persons will have the opportunity to fill in their name, fill in their email address, fill in basic information that the form is going to have, and then from there, winners will be randomly picked. So that's one. Government, of course, has money that's allocated on the budget for Carnival, and that is, of course, designated Carnival, not specific to SCDF. So that's one avenue that we're looking at. But in general, of course, the Ministry of TIAT has a budget. So the Tourist Office and I are exploring which options are readily available for us to utilize. But the SCDF, of course, will, commit to working with us and have committed to do so. So that is the reason why I've already announced the date of November 30th, where Carnival artists will be there, ambassadors for Carnival will be there at the event, because we also want to pull in that the SCDF has the opportunity to bring their car raffle that they have, which the draw date, of course, is the night of the burning of King Mumu, the end of Carnival. That is also that opportunity. So it adds more pizzazz, more flair to what we have planned in terms of giving these tickets. It gives persons the opportunity to participate in Carnival who wouldn't have. And of course, season passes is something very dear to me, because while I was president of the SCDF in 2011, the idea of season passes started. It originally started at $105. The motivation behind that, of course, was to ensure that persons come to Carnival Village where they spend at the booths, where they participate in local shows as well, where they normally wouldn't. So by volume, you're able to have persons come to the Carnival Village. That means more persons spending, more booths are happy, the generating of funds for others extends throughout Carnival. And that is what Carnival has always been for me. So that has continued, and I'm so glad to see the tradition continue. So what more of a fitting opportunity than to support the SCDF by having these 50 season passes, only to complement the initiatives of the 50th Carnival celebration, only to further promote as government the initiative deeply rooted in our governing program, and of course truly put our culture as priority number one.
Thank you, Minister Johnson. We now move on to the final round of questions. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Question to the Prime Minister again. Prime Minister, yesterday they had a seminar at the Belair Center, and it was overwhelming. I don't know if you had attended, but you can speak in behalf of the Minister of Education. There was a large number of students who want to be police officer. To continue with this question, with the classes at the university for police, do you have any comment on that, whether it will be continue or not, because of the children, young children of various schools, they want to be police officers?
Thank you for that question. Unfortunately, I didn't attend the seminar. I am actually Not sure that there was a seminar, but nevertheless, as it relates to young persons wanting to enter into the police force, I think this is something quite honorable. And it's, I'm sure that the Minister of Education will make sure that the possibility exists along with the Minister of Justice, because it's important for us to have our own in the police force to make sure that they uphold safety and security for our islands. They look like us, they talk like us, they are one of us. It's an honorable job, and therefore, if the opportunity is there, or when the opportunity is there to do courses within that field, the Council of Ministers would definitely support such.
And just to add, based on the career and study fair, of course, for me, I saw it as a stepping stone. You know, education for me is extremely dear to my heart. So, of course, education and the economy is interlinked, and therefore very important that our young people harness this in their creativity and their dynamics that they have, and of course, prepare them well for the future. So I fully endorse the career and study fair, and of course, Minister Smith also is not here, and he did the same thing. And of course, Minister Smith is very committed to that career and study fair and has supported that initiative. And of course, both of us together, along with the Council of Ministers, saw it of paramount importance that that activity in terms of promoting under the team what you do today can improve your tomorrows in a time where St. Martin is rebuilding our economy, in a time where things are getting back on track. Was very important to see young people now get the opportunity to see what career opportunities there are there. For instance, DV Resort was there, the airport was there. There were many stakeholders from other ministries, not only mine, that was present at Bel Air, and we look forward to other initiatives in that regard that only promote positivity in the country, that moves this country forward in the direction we need it to be.
Thank you, Minister Johnson. Alita Singh, you have the final question.
Thank you again, Relaika. My question again is for the Prime Minister. In the recent weeks, we have had these allegations of sexual harassment come up, some of them still being, well, actually all of them still being looked into. But one aspect that has not been addressed is what has government within its own apparatus done to tackle or have some sort of complaint mechanism in place that if someone feels sexually harassed, that they can go to someone of confidence, like the same way that we're supposed to have people of confidence for integrity issues. Is that something that government has considered, or is it something government already has in place?
Thank you, Alita, for that question. As it relates to any complaint, there is something in place in government at the Personnel Affairs Department. All matters, all complaints are held within confidence in a confidential setting as well. And we are looking again to set back up our Integrity Bureau. So we do have, well, those persons were identified in the past, but it will be something that we will look into about those key persons playing an integral role as it relates to complaints. But yes, indeed, the government do have a policy in our Personnel Affairs Department, no matter what it is. If there is a complaint, individuals, so civil servants or whoever, can come to the Personnel Affairs Department if it's civil servants and put in their complaint. If it's something related to the public, there is other policy mechanisms in place for persons to put in their complaints. You have the ombudsman, you have the regular police department. So therefore, there are mechanisms in place when there is a complaint, be it sexual harassment, be it whatever it is. But we have that already in place. Thank you.
May I just ask just a little tiny bit of follow-up? Do you think it's necessary to have someone specifically for sexual harassment in general?
I don't think it's something to look into, but if there is in general some a mechanism in place for any kind of harassment, then we don't have to specifically look at sexual harassments only. There can be something about discrimination. There could be something about whatever, but that's already a complaint is a complaint.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 31st, 2018.